Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to start working with the Firebase Database. This is a very powerful tool Firebase provides, which will be a great asset in our development arsenal. So before I even get into the code, I'd like to do just a little bit of explanation, just a bit of an intro to the Firebase Database. So I'm here in my console, I'm in the authentication part, but in the next tab over, I have the database open, the database tab open. So even as I speak, a new product has come out from Firebase. It's called Firestore. It has even more features as far as real-time databases are concerned, but we won't be using it for now. For now, we'll just focus with the real-time database. So if I scroll down to this option, I can click Create Database. It'll give me a dialog asking about security rules. For now, I'll just click Enable. And I'll explain what that means in a bit. Okay, so here is my default database that that Firebase provides every new project. As you can see, there is no data. This entire white space is the database, so there's no data within it. And before we start adding anything, you notice that in my next tab, I have my localhost open. I'd like to use this just for the sake of comparison. So here in my localhost, I have a users table that I was using for something else, and it has the traditional table format. So you have your columns, and you have all your rows, and importantly, you have a primary key. In my case, I have this ID. So this is the classic way of storing data in a table. Now Firebase uses JSON objects, a large JSON document, to store its data. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, and it's a widely accepted way of transferring data between systems. So iOS, Android, the web, JavaScript, PHP, all those languages, they will accept JSON, which makes it very powerful. So let's create a very small example. Let's say I wanted to create this exact same table. It's users. So the first thing I'll do, I'll click the plus button. Let me do it. Okay, no. Yes, so you click the plus button that's next to the default database, test app F3, F57 for me. And you create your table. You say users. Now you could immediately put a value, but since this is a table I'm creating, I press the plus button, and I start adding my data. So the first piece of data is the ID. Now immediately I'll just put in an ID. So again, copying this format, let's put in this first row. You could say 1, and you don't put in a value. You again just press the down button, and now you can put your data. So for example, name, and you put Irene. And then you press the plus button on the ID part again, and you say, let's say email. And you hit the plus button again, you say whatever it is, password. Although we won't be storing passwords in this table. And so on and so forth. And then when you want to add another record, you go right back to the users table up here, and you press the plus button again, and you put record 2. Then you go into that, and you put the data. Once again, name, Uganda, email, and so on and so forth. And then you can add all of that, and it gets put in the database. Now notice for the second entry, I didn't put a password. This is another thing about JSON. You do not have to fill in all the fields. And if you don't fill in all the fields, you won't get a null value as you would in a traditional database. Like for example here, if I decided that this user doesn't have a last name, the database would show null. But in Firebase, it just doesn't include that field, in this case the password field. Alright, that was just a brief intro. Let me see if my emulator has come online. It has. So now we can do an example. So for this first video for Firebase Database, what we'll do is we will store data. We will store the data, the user's data, as soon as they log in. So that's the username, and well, for now we'll start with the username. We'll see what else we need to store as we move on. So I'm going to sign out of that and go to my Android Studio. All right, so let's go to our main activity. Because there's a problem I noticed even before we continue. Right, in our switch statement, the problem I noticed was when I logged out, it went fast to the settings page before taking me to this start activity. I don't know if it's happening the same for you. Perhaps you already noticed and you put what we need, which is a break between these. Okay, there we go. I'll test that later. I think that's what the problem is, but I don't want to test it right now. All right, over to our register activity. And the first thing I'm going to do is open my Firebase Assistant. All right, before I continue, let me shift this so that it's properly recorded. I could see that it's being cut a little. Okay, so in my Firebase Assistant, I'm going to go to real-time database, save and retrieve data. Now, like the same as it was for authentication, Firebase gives us the steps that we need to follow to use the database. I've already connected to Firebase, and I have added the dependencies. So if you haven't done this, if it's your first time, there'll be a button here that asks you to add the dependency. Simply click that and click OK on the dialog box that opens up. All right. The next thing we have to do is to configure Firebase database rules. This is a very important step. So let's go back to the browser. So here's my database, and we're now on the data tab. If we go over to the rules tab, these rules control the cases in which your database can be written to. So the rules, let me put it simply, the rules under which your database can be used. So as you can see right now, read is set to false and write is set to false, which means we cannot use this database. So now let's change that. And the rule that we want to follow is, as long as the user is logged in, then they should be able to read data, to fetch their messages, to fetch their user data, their status, username, etc. And they should be able to write data, to write messages and to change their status, etc., etc. So I went ahead and copied the rules that I needed. There they are. So as you can see, read is set to auth is not equal to null. So you can read as long as authentication is not null. And the same thing for write. I'm going to publish that. Feel free to pause and copy this exactly as it is. And that should be all. So back to the Android Studio. And now the next step is we can immediately write to our database. And to do that, we need to create an instance of our database in the application. So feel free to go ahead and read the rest of these steps, but for now I'm going to close this and just go ahead and do it from here. So the first thing I need is a database reference object. I'm going to call mine root. Then I'm going to say root is equal to Firebase database.getInstance.getReference. So now this root variable points to this test app database, which is the root. This first thing that you see is the root of your database, and we have now made an instance of it. And everything underneath it, everything within it, is its children. So users is the children of the root. This ID 1 is the child of users. This name is the child of 1, and so on and so forth. We could even go further into this. We could delete that. Actually, let's just delete the field. So we could add name and then go deeper into it and say first name is that, and then go deeper into that and say last name is that, and we could add that. So now we've made more children. So first name and last name are the child of name, which is the child of the ID, which is the child of users, and so on and so forth. A very simple, straightforward process. But for now though, we're going to delete everything because we want to start from scratch. We don't want to manually type in our data, but we want to do it from the Android, from the code. So I've made my reference. Now let's go to our register user. We want all this data to be saved as soon as the user registers, which happens in this method. So we'd already created a user variable, which we didn't use. And the first thing we'll do with it is to get the unique ID of the user. So string UID is equals to user dot get UID. So once again, let me go back to the console to show you guys. Over on our authentication, as soon as you register, I deleted all my other users, so I only have this one, and this user has a unique ID. This is in this application, no one else will have an ID like this, so it can be used to identify the user. All right. So string UID is equals to user.getUID. Next step, let's add just the usernames for the sake of an example. So we'll say root, which is our database, dot child, and then we'll say users. Now note, the users table doesn't have to exist yet. That's another powerful thing about Firebase Database. It can create these things immediately in the code, for the first time, that is, in the code. It doesn't have to be there like it would in MySQL or other SQL databases. So child users and then dot child UID dot child name, that's what we want to store, rather not name, username, and then we call the set value method, and we'll set the value to the username string. For now, let's terminate there and see what happens. So I'm going to apply these changes. Okay, and here we are. Let's create an account. And the username will be Irene and the password will be okay. I'm going to register. And we've successfully registered. Let me go back to my console. And in the database, we see the user has been created. And if we open this, we'll see the username is Irene. So let's compare this to the code. We pointed to the root, which is that. Then we say dot child users, so it created the users table. And then we say dot child UID. So within the users table, it put an entry for the unique ID of this user. Within that, we asked it to create a field called username.child username. So it did that. And then we told it to set the value of this last child to the username string. And that's what it did. Excellent. So that worked perfectly. Now, we want to store more data than this, of course, like we had in the example I gave. So let's do that next. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I will put all that data that we want to store together, and I'll do that using a hash map. So hash map, and it will take in strings, and we'll call it user map is equals to new hash map. Okay, and then we're just going to put data into this map. So user map dot put, and now we can put in our key value pairs. So for example, username and username string. which in fact will be the first one. So username and username string. Now what else do we want to store? I'm going to do Control D to copy this. The second thing I'd like to store is the user status, which for now will be default. So the default status was, let's go back to our settings. And here it is. Join Square today, best app ever. So I'm going to copy that, take it back here and paste it. Feel free to put whatever default status you'd like. Okay, after that we're going to put an image, and for now this will just say default because we have a default image already in the settings layout. And then this is for later, we may not use it, but I'd like to. I'm going to put a compressed image. So basically we'll take the same image, but it'll be a smaller version for thumb images, and also default. So this is all the data we're storing. Now we could, if we wanted to, duplicate this line and then just change this to, for example, status, and then set value, and image, set value, but that's a bit of a long process. Instead, what we'll do is we're going to store the entire thing using the hash map. So we'll say child UID dot set value user map, and that will set the entire, that will put all of this at once into the database. So just like for authentication, this has an onComplete listener. I'm going to terminate and say new onComplete listener, and then all of this can happen once our task is successful. So if task.is successful, paste that in. A simple error message will take this same one, paste it in, and we can say error inserting your details to the database. Let's hope we never have to see that message. Okay, I believe that is all. Let's now test it, see if there are any errors. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm going to sign out, and this is actually a good opportunity to see if I fixed that settings activity error. Good, I did. Excellent. So create an account, and what I'm going to do is, once it opens that register activity, there it is, I'd like us to watch the database instead of looking at our Android Studio. So I'm going to shift this to here, and let's create an account for Will. Okay, and I'm going to register. So it's creating the account, and you notice that it immediately put this into the database. I did not have to refresh. I didn't have to go back here and open this URL again. It just put the data and showed us immediately. That is the power of the real-time database. It happens in real time. There is always a connection to the database. which is great. And let's see what details it's put. So here it is, compressed image is default, image is default, the status is join square today, and the username is Will. So that has worked perfectly. Now in the next video, we're going to do something similar, but now for the settings activity, and it will involve changing data, the user changing data for themselves. So we'll stop this video here and do that the next time.